Welcome everyone to this session where we're going to be discussing Amazon advertising benchmarks. My name is Jeremiah Chambers. I am the VP of Sales here at DataHawk, and I'll be facilitating this session with you today. So before we begin, I wanted to give everyone here my sincere thank you, and just thank you to all of you in attendance and to all of you listening to this recording later. Just by being part of this summit, you are helping build a community of Amazon sellers, agencies, and brands that help each other improve business practices so that we can all become better together. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so we have our agenda here, and in this session, what we're going to be covering is first and foremost the source of the benchmarks that we're going to share. So you need to know a little bit about how the sausage is made, as that term, if that works for everyone here. We're going to be talking about Amazon ads and terminology, ad type segmentation and performance, return on ad spends metrics, average cost of sale metrics, a breakdown of other key advertising metrics, some key insights to leave you thinking, and approximately 20 minutes of your life with me that you'll never get back, which I'm joking, of course. I think you're getting a lot of value out of this. So let's jump right in to see where these benchmarks are coming from. So at DataHawk, we are fortunate to have access to various data points that will allow us to guide our customers towards optimizing their spend, ad spend and sales. Being that as the nature of our business, we leveraged anonymized data from our existing user accounts to discover these Amazon advertising benchmarks. So how did we do it? Well, we started off with 297 anonymized DataHawk user accounts. That's what we use to develop these benchmarks. To give you a little understanding of these user accounts, within these accounts, we saw an average weekly ad spend between $630 and $8,570. Also, for these accounts, the average product prices were between $17 and $48. Now, as you hear these numbers for ad spend and average product prices, I hope that you're able to say that you are within these ranges so that the data will be most relevant to you. Even if you're outside of these ranges, I am confident that you'll still walk away with some very valuable insights. So let's start with a hot topic, and that hot topic is Amazon advertising spend. So before we dive into the data, let's go over some things that you need to know. We have a diversified audience for this event. So first, let's talk about the different types of Amazon ads, as you'll be seeing a breakdown of the data associated with each type of ad in the remainder of this presentation. So let's start with sponsored display and video ads. Although these are put together on this slide, they are separated in the findings that we'll share later. Sponsored display and video ads are designed to expand the reach and visibility of your ad campaigns on and off Amazon. You can see these in multiple placements like product detail pages, brand websites, or custom detail pages. Sponsored brand ads are there to target customers with high purchasing intent and increase traffic and brand discoverability. These are seen both above and within product detail pages and at the bottom of search results page as well. Sponsored product ads are there to target shoppers searching for related keywords or similar products to then promote your product. And just a quick example of this, I know you've definitely seen this, experienced before, but I was searching for a Casper mattress a few years ago. I was in the market for a mattress. When I searched for a Casper mattress, typing in the words Casper mattress, what I got back was actually a sponsored product ad for Tuft & Needle. Researched it, had great reviews and a ton of reviews, a lot of social proof. And what did I end up buying? Not the product I was searching for, but that Tuft & Needle mattress instead. So it's a very powerful tool. And you're going to see me talk a little bit more about that later when I get into the data. But they can be spotted these sponsored product ads can be spotted at the top, on the side, or directly within search results and product pages. Although with these ad types, we're going to be going, or along with these ad types, we're going to be going over some of the terminology that we're going to be using just in case anyone in the audience may not be familiar with it. So let's start with CTR click-through rate, which is used to measure the brand awareness generated by ad campaigns. Pretty simple. That means people are clicking on the ads that you are pushing out there. Ad sales is an attribution of the number of purchases made by customers by ad type to determine which ad type drives the highest number of purchases. And then there's ROAS, as some say, or return on ad spend, which is much like ROI. It is the measure of what return you get from the dollars you invest into ads, allowing you to redirect your ad budget to ad types that generate the highest level of return. So thank you for indulging me with that last part. So let's get started with the meat and potatoes of this presentation. Let's talk about the data and begin with what Amazon ad types are most popular among the data sample used for this benchmarking. So with the 4 ad types of Amazon ads, sponsored products is by far the most popular choice of ad type, with nearly all of our accounts utilizing them. You see it's over 98% of accounts utilizing the sponsored product ads. Sponsored products is followed by sponsored display ads, with a little over 82% of our accounts using them. And then there are sponsored brands video, although seemingly gaining in popularity, only clocking in at slightly above 80% of accounts. And lastly, you have sponsored brands, which are utilized by just over 75% of the accounts that we have. As the marketplace is becoming increasingly competitive, the strategies deployed with Amazon ads is critical to staying ahead of the competition. And the following benchmarks may help you understand how effectively you are leveraging these ad vehicles compared to others. So let's look at some of the numbers here. This table that you see on this slide is a breakdown of DataHawk users' 2021 performance and key advertising metrics for each of the different Amazon ad types. The percentage below the campaign type indicates the share of DataHawk accounts using the specific ad type. We talked about that in the previous slide. And this table is further segmented into bottom quartile, medium, top quartile, and average to provide perspective and guidance on how typical Amazon businesses performed in 2021, thereby serving as a valuable benchmark for assessing one's own performance. You can see the column for sales on the left-hand side that may help you determine which quartile of business that you fall into. One piece of information that I believe stands out here is the correlation between return on ad spend and sales. As you can see, the return on ad spend multiple was more significant as sales increased. There's also a correlation that we see with overall sales and conversion rates, which I believe may show the evolution of one's business as they optimize their ad campaigns. If you become more efficient with your ad campaigns, then you get to reap the rewards of those ad campaigns with higher sales. It's pretty simple to get to that level of effectiveness. Moving forward, the graphs on this slide are a breakdown of the table on the previous slide. The graphs represent the cost per click, conversion rates, return on ad spend, and average cost of sale according to the 4 ad types, and are segmented into quartiles. They are intended to help Amazon brands evaluate their advertising performance in accordance with their designated quartile group. As you can see on the charts, there may be some validation as to why 98% of our user accounts leverage sponsored products. It shows consistently strong in both return on ad spend and conversion rate when, for instance, sponsored display ads show a high average cost of sale with lower conversion rates. So you can see, again, this is why so many people choose those sponsored product ads. They're just effective. They're very effective. But again, you can't have that single pronged strategy. You have to incorporate some other strategies in there to make sure that you stay on top of things. Something else to point out is that Amazon ad campaign efficacy correlates to higher product pricing. That's something that we've seen here. Brands with relatively higher priced products tend to have a lower cost or lower average cost of sale, leaving room for higher margins. Does that mean you needed to jack up your price right now on your products? Not necessarily, but there is a correlation there and something that you may need to consider. Digging a little bit deeper into the data, I know this slide might look a little busy, but while sponsored product ads were the most efficient ad types 42 weeks out of the 52-week year, sponsored brand video generated the highest return on ad spend from late November to just before Thanksgiving and Black Friday at about a 3.93 multiple. And that was all the way to late December and just before Christmas and the Christmas holiday, where it got to around 4.18 as a multiple. So this, although it's based on 2021 data, it might be a good indicator for how you allocate your ad budget and how the strategy used for your ad campaigns going into the upcoming holiday season that we're going to see here in a few months. Sponsored product ads perform least efficiently, this is interesting because we're approaching this week right now, during the week of June 28th to July 4th. And during that time period, it fell, the effectiveness or efficiency of that ad campaign fell by about 16% compared to the 2 weeks prior to it. So again, those were sponsored product ads, least efficient during the week of June 28th to July 4th last year. So this year, it may tell a different story, but this also may be something that you want to consider. However, even though there was a 16% fall in that week, the same ad type increased 26% just 1 month later. So interestingly as well, sponsored display ads delivered a greatest increase, around 42% between May 16th and June 16th of last year, which registered on an upsurge of about 39%. So overall, ad campaigns launched in March, and you're going to see this a little bit on the chart. The ad campaigns launched in March were the most effective, and they generated the highest consistent return on ad spend at about 3.6 times. Other peaks were in November and December, and campaigns that were most ineffective were between June 28th and July 4th. So when you think about this, when you think about the timing of when you're making these investments in different ad campaigns, there is some seasonality to it. And I'm going to recommend this later in the call as well, but make sure you have some type of historical benchmarking of your own performance in your own categories, with your own products, to better identify those seasonality trends. And of course, there's other things like Prime Day and things like that that can mess with it. But you want to make sure that you have a good sense of what your historical performance has been to help guide that future decision making. All right, so moving on. So we're talking about average cost of sale. So the average Amazon seller had an average cost of sale between 25.3% and 31.6% throughout the year. Advertising was the most expensive in mid-April, the week after Prime Day, and during the December holidays, of course. Average cost of sale trends for the different ad types somewhat mirrored each other. However, sponsored display ads appeared to be the most expensive ad type by a mile all year round. So again, sponsored display ads, most expensive ad type all throughout the year. Despite the flat trend of average cost of sale, brands may take cues from some predictable seasonal events impacting efficiency to make the most out of their advertising budgets in the remainder of the year. So here's the trend. When comparing the flat average cost of sale trend line to that of cost per click increasing trend line, one can deduce that although clicks become more expensive throughout the year, advertising does not. So that's something to think about. So let's talk a little bit about conversion rates for a second. With the exception of sponsored display ads, conversion rates for all other ad types peaked in mid to late December. Consequently, 2 weeks after the holiday shopping season, conversion rates for sponsored product ads fell by 36%. Other spikes throughout the year include June, July, and November, when drops in the early days in January, February, and April. In addition to peaks in December, conversion rates for sponsored brand ads reached highs of around 10% in mid-October and late June, with lows of around 7.8% in early June and 6.8% in early January. Conversion rates for sponsored brand videos ads follow a similar pattern as those of sponsored brand ads. In contrast, sponsored display ads have the highest conversion rate of 8% in mid-June, followed by March and its lowest number in January and February. So brands that use sponsored display ads in June should note that conversion rates dropped 37.5% just 8 days later, between late June and early July. Again, that late June, early July period is an area that we've seen a lot of inefficiency, a lot of ineffectiveness with ad campaigns during that time. So here's a recommendation. Brands should increase their ad spend during the holidays and significant Amazon shopping events, as these are the times when there are considerable spikes in conversion rates. I think that kind of goes as common sense, but that's something we want to make sure that we preface there. So don't get scared away by having to spend a little bit on ads around Prime Day or those significant shopping events. So now focusing on cost per click and click-through rate for a moment. So both cost per click and click-through rate followed an upward trend throughout the year, although cost per click did so at a more significant rate, increasing roughly 50% from January to December. Brands can obtain more comprehensive understanding of how Amazon pay-per-click campaigns are becoming more expensive by comparing cost per click against click-through rate and conversion rates. Click-through rate was at an all-time high between August 16th and 22nd of last year. There was a 45% increase in clicks during this week compared to March 22nd to 28th, when click-through rates were the lowest. On the other hand, cost per click was at its highest in the week of December 6th through 12th, compared to the first week of 2021. The average cost per click increased roughly 52% in the last few weeks of the year. Here's the prediction. While the rising trend line in cost per click can be attributed to intensified competition, higher click-through rate is likely driven by advertisers becoming increasingly proficient at using images and titles, as well as having better rated products with increased social proof. There's a lot you can find actually within DataHawk that proves that. There is kind of a trifecta we look at, which is the price of the product in your category, average number of reviews, and average review when it comes to the star rating. Those things blend together. If you got a good sense of that, you can kind of tune your products just right to win that buy box, be a bestseller, and ultimately get more deals. Pardon me. So to help us move towards conclusion, let's zero in on some of the key insights from this benchmarking that I shared. I shared a lot of slides with a lot of data, and let's boil it down to just a few simple things. So there are many insights that came from the data that we investigated for this benchmarking report, but a few insights seem to stand out. For one, there tends to be a correlation between higher priced products and having a lower average cost of sale, which leaves room for higher margins. Again, does that mean you need to raise the prices on all of your products? Not necessarily, but there is a correlation there between higher priced products and that average cost of sale, and of course, increased margins. Another piece is, although higher priced products help with this, it is still important to gain an understanding of the market in which price ranges produce the highest volume of sales within your product's category. I just mentioned, we have that within our tool that you can see that and get kind of a bird's eye view, no pun intended, maybe it was about DataHawk, of being able to see that data, but that's gonna help you tune your numbers to get the most out of your ad campaigns. Another thing to consider is brands rely heavily on sponsored product ads, and sponsored products in turn consume a majority of the brand's advertising budget. So most brands are leveraging majority of their budget towards sponsored product ads, and it's mostly because of the effectiveness of those ads. But again, you want to make sure that you have a multi-pronged strategy that's not all consolidated in one. So even though we see brands allocating roughly an average of 81% of their advertising budget on sponsored product ads, we're seeing an increase in diversification of ad types being used to capture the market. All right, so I want to go over just a few things to consider as we walk away from this session today, and got a few things on the screen here. So one, if I want you to walk away with anything, it's some important stuff to think about. Knowing your key advertising metrics and your own benchmarks is very important. If you know your own numbers, you'll know how to influence them. Along with knowing your own metrics, you should track your historical data and identify trends to predict future outcomes. Do this more than 60 days out. Do this for the year. Do this for 2 years. It's going to help you. Trust me. Use your data to fuel better decision-making. As business grows, you will need to evolve. Your data can help guide you for better business outcomes. And then ultimately, know your market, know your competitors, and don't assume that you have all the answers. There's a great community here of people that can help you. So to end us out, once again, I want to thank you for attending this session or watching this recording. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at jeremiah@datahawk.co. If you want to improve your understanding in your advertising metrics and accelerate your Amazon advertising strategy, please go to datahawk.co. You can see my website right there on the page. You can see my email, my LinkedIn, and don't forget, tune into our next session, which is going to be held here in just a moment, which is how to efficiently marry owned operated stores with marketplace strategy. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful day.